everyone, welcome back to another edition of Kudo Camera Company live stream. Tonight we have a throwdown between the Yashica DX 50mm f1.4 and the Super-Takumar 50mm f1.4. Both are M42 mount lenses, excellent lenses, great reputations, and we're going to take a look at them today. They were both competing. The height of their competition was really in 1969, I would say, and they were two excellent lenses, and they've been used ever since. So here we are, still using them today. So with that, let's jump right into it. We're going to take a look first at the Yashica Yashinon-DX 50mm f1.4. Right now we're wide open. So right about here, we're focusing on the iris, and you can see the bokeh in the background is absolutely ridiculous. So that's just great to see. So this is an absolutely excellent lens. So we'll keep it moving. I want to try to keep these under 15 minutes. And wow, look at this one. This is the Super-Takumar 50mm f1.4. This one, we're pretty sharp right here. And this one has excellent bokeh as well. This is wide open. It has a little bit more of an oval bokeh, which is nice. We'll just kind of switch back and forth between the two. I'm going to slide out of the shot for a second. Both excellent. So we're going to do a rating. So as we're going to go through, basically, we're going to start out looking at the build. We're going to look at the bokeh. We're going to look at the color, the center sharpness, edge sharpness, do a split screen comparison. Going to take a look at the optical formula, the reputation of the two manufacturers, the minimum focus distance, the speed, and then we're going to have an overall scorecard based on 100 points. So our goal is to try to get through all this in less than 15 minutes. And if you watch the video on 1.5 speed, you could get it down to even less than that. But let's go through it and do it as fast as we can, and while still being thorough. So first thing we're going to take a look at on the rating board is the build. So let's take a look at the Yashica Yashinon. So this one is an all metal build, but what I have found with these, I've had quite a few of them. They come in all black, they come in all chrome, and they come in black and chrome. And I've had a lot of issues with the bodies becoming wobbly. And unfortunately, it's not always as simple as just tightening a screw or two. You kind of have to break it down quite a bit and rebuild it. And it's very time consuming. And for the price point on the lens, it's not really cost effective to do so. So I'm thinking that this one on the build department should really only get a 7. If it was just cosmetics, I love the way it looks, it would get a 10, especially the chrome version. You should check that out. But this one here, the build is a 7. It's a 7. And the Super-Takumar, on the other hand, is a bit more rugged. This one's definitely going to stand up the test of time. I've had tons of these and never had I should say I've had very few issues, almost none with anything being wobbly. So these are excellent lenses. This one's going to get a point in the build department. So let's just get that score in and keep this moving, because we do have a lot of categories to look at. So I'm not going to be able to cover each one in as much depth as I would like to, but this will be a starting point for understanding the two lenses and comparing them. So the next is the bokeh. So let's take a look sort of side by side. The bokeh on the Yashinon is about twice as big as the Super-Takumar. So this is kind of a clear winner. You're going to get to see plenty of bokeh during the testing, so we'll move it on. I think this is a definite winner, and that bokeh is actually pretty extreme too. I mean, it's not swirly or anything. I'm not going to give it a 10, but I think it's a solid 9. And we'll go with, that's beautiful bokeh on the Asahi too. So we're going to do a 9 for the Yashinon and an 8 for the Asahi Super-Takumar. I've got these. Oh, I'm gonna have to correct these scores here. This will be easy. Got these backwards. I can fix that. Super-Tac. Okay, and moving right along. Our next department is the color department. So the first thing is pretty jumps out is the two tones. So we're filming here on two Sony A7 Mark IIs, and both are on auto white balance. So on the Super-Takumar, we have a really rich, and I consider this true to life sort of look. It's very vivid. And on the Yashinon, we have a much cooler, maybe a bit more cinematic look here. So this is a pretty cool look. It depends what you're going for. So if you were filming a family sitting on a couch, watching a movie together, sort of celebrating a Friday night, I think it's pretty clear that the Super-Takumar would look better for that shot. And if you were filming a police officer hanging out outside and at night, you know, leaning against the car, I bet the Yashinon would look great for that. So there's different uses for these two colors, but we'll take a look at just sort of some other colors here. I've got just straight out of the box, I'm gonna have to give the color edge to the Takumar, because I feel that the Takumar does it on its own without having to do a lot. I really like the look. And so I'm going to give the color on the Super-Takumar a 9. And I'm going to give the color on the Yashinon an 8. So I just want to take sort of a brief minute here to make sure we're all systems go. Looks like we're all systems go. And also let you know that you can get all the gear that we use at kudocamera.com. We have adapters, lenses, focus gears, and so much more. So please do check it out. We just passed a milestone for 200 subscribers. We got that, I think, yesterday. So now we're charging forward to 1,000 subscribers. So do subscribe, please, and ring the notification bell so you can keep up with all these lens comparisons. We have a lot of really cool lenses coming up in the works. Okay, so back to it. The next thing we're going to look at is the center sharpness. So here we have a 1x crop. So it's just basically a crop of the center of the frame. What I'm seeing here is that the Super-Takumar is pretty relatively in focus around my mouth and here. But on the Yashica, it looks a little out. So let's see if they're not in sync or... I can just back this one off just a bit. So for sharpness here, let's see what we can get. They're both excellent lenses in the center. They both look good. Let's take a closer look with the 2x crop and see if we're in alignment on the focus here. Okay, we're a little too close on the Takumar, so we'll let's see if that was fine-tune adjustment. Yeah, that's pretty close right now. All right, so what I see going through the focus range here, for the Super-Takumar, I'm getting into focus about here where it's standing out versus the Yashica. And then as I'm going back, we're both sharp here, very sharp. And then as I go back further, I feel like they're either equal here or I'm seeing an edge for the Super-Takumar in the center sharpness, but is it enough to give it an edge in the scoring system? I think they're both 8s. They're not the sharpest lenses in the center, but they're still very sharp and excellent lenses. These are wide open sharp, so it's nice. I like these two lenses. So let's give them both an 8 for the center sharpness. Pop that in. Okay. And next we're going to take a look at the edge sharpness. So if we're on the edge of the frame, we'll see which one can hold out. So just looking sort of at the face, let's see. The Super-Takumar is definitely in more focus right now. And then does the Yashica take it over? Yeah, it does right there. So looks like I could go a little deeper on the Takumar. Let's see, about in sync. Looking at the overall face right now at this point, I feel like the Super-Takumar really has some nice coverage, and the Yashica has less. So on the edge, I'm going to give an edge. This is a much better quality picture out of the Super-Takumar, so I'm going to give the edge sharpness to Super-Takumar. I'm not going to say that it's not anything like a 10 or a 9. I think that the Super-Takumar should get an 8, and the Yashica should get a 7. So let me pop that in. Super-Takumar 8 and Yashica 7. Okay, next. We'll take a look at the split screen comparison. So this is almost like when you go diving into the pool. So over here, where the Yashica, I know some people are going to love this lens and say, hey, give this a 10 on here, but then you come over here and there's so much to love about this shot here compared to that one and just on its own. I mean, this is a great shot here. So let's really get into character here on this one. So they're both excellent lenses. But this one here, I feel like this one's a lot harder to use in certain circumstances. This one's going to be a lot more versatile because this one can still be moody because it's got that vintage vibe, which is nice. You can use that in a lot of different ways. On the split screen, for me, just looking, over here, we're bluish green. Over here, there's just so much going on. I really like this. So we're going to go ahead and give the split screen edge to the Super-Takumar. And let's just go ahead and pop that in for the Super-Takumar. I think for this, I really love the way that the Super-Takumar, I wasn't sure how I've been comparing a lot of lenses recently, and I didn't know how I was going to feel about the Takumar when it was started going head to head against other lenses, but I'm actually really impressed, and I can't wait to try it against the Canons and Nikons and everything else. So let's make sure I've got this in correctly here. 9 for the Takumar and an 8 for the Yashinon. Okay. And then next we're going to head over to the optical formulas. So let's take a look at that. They are both 7 elements in 6 groups, and they follow the traditional double Gaussian planar design. You've got the front element, 2 elements that are very close together but not connected, and then in the back groups, you've got the 2 that are bonded, and then the 2 rear elements that are just back there. So if you take a look at the overlay, you can see they match exactly, but it's not, I guess not exactly, and you can see there's differences to how they render. So that's kind of the point of the whole thing. We'll keep going, but on optics, I think that they're pretty much following the tradition and the legacy of the best group of lenses, the planar inspired lenses. So we can go ahead and give both of these a 9. Just gonna punch in the 9s. And we'll keep it moving. Okay, next we can take a look at the reputations of the manufacturers. So for Yashica, this was a very well-known brand. They made a lot of different types of cameras, from rangefinders to interchangeable lens SLRs, and so they've got a really storied history. I'd like to actually study the history a bit more. So this is a quick look at the Yashica, and then the Super-Takumar. It's an excellent manufacturer. You know, you've got the Pentax, Asahi, Honeywell. There were the Spotmatic cameras. There was so much with this. You have this that we're testing here is the 7-element Super-Takumar. There's also, so this one is radioactive. And then you have the 8-element version, which was earlier, and it was supposed to be the planar destroyer. So they were going to take on Zeiss with their 8-element Super-Takumar, and they did a great job with those lenses, and you can see it stacked up. We can we'll compare a planar Zeiss planar to the Super-Takumar, and all the different lenses. We're going to go kind of head to head on all of them if we can. So Super-Takumar, I feel like for the reputation department, this is just a very slight edge for Asahi. So let's just go ahead and get that in. Okay, and next we're going to move on to minimum focus distance. I'm just going to grab a drink. I'll be right back. Forgive me. Okay, we're back. So we're on to minimum focus distance. So this one's an easy one to score. The minimum focus distance of the Yashica DX is better than the Super-Takumar. So, and it's actually pretty good for a 50mm that's not a macro. The minimum focus distance on this Yashinon is 0.35 meters versus the Super-Takumar, which is 0.45 meters. So we're going to give the Yashinon a 9, and we'll give the Takumar an 8. So let's just quickly get that plugged in. And last but not least, we have speed. So with speed, they're both 50mm f1.4s. Those really qualify to be a 9. So it's not going to be a 10, but it's not an 8. So it's a solid 8. Excuse me, solid 9. So let's just quickly get that in so we can move on and do some tallies. Okay. So a quick roundup. In the build department, the Super-Takumar nudged ahead. For the bokeh department, the Yashinon has a clear favorite, but even though it's smaller, the Asahi is still good. The color department, the Super-Takumar took it home. Center sharpness, they were both good, not the best in the world. The edge sharpness, I saw a little bit better performance out of the Takumar. The split screen, I gave the edge. If I was working on a project, I would bring the Takumar if I was working on a project right now. The optical formula, they're both some of the best design lenses out there, so you can't go wrong in that sense. Minimum, the reputation of the manufacturers, they're both great, but the Super-Takumar sort of has been more consistent, done it for longer, had a really good, interesting history. So they're both excellent, and the Takumar has an edge. The minimum focus distance, is cool to think that I'm going to pull it out of focus just because it's supposed to be a close focus. So let's see how it does. And see how the bokeh looks even crazier. So here we are, about here in focus. So, you know, they are advertising it as 0.35 meters. It probably is close to that. They got the edge there, but you got to love the bokeh. So, before we wrap up, I just want to show you these two lenses on a crop sensor, and then we're gonna call it a night. So we'll take a look at the Yashinon. If you look at the sensor overlay, we can quickly look at one at a time. But the M42, if we're in focus here for sort of the maximum bokeh, it's not much of a usable shot on the face. So what this means is that if you're using this lens in micro four thirds, it's going to be hard to get that level of bokeh. If you had a figurine on a table or a small product that you needed to shoot, you could get that kind of bokeh. But to get it in a sort of a portrait like how I'm sitting right now in the full frame, it's not really going to happen, because once you go back here, watch what happens to the bokeh. So if I need to get all the way back here for the micro four thirds, you can watch what happens to the bokeh as I focus all the way back there. You can see it's disappearing. The bokeh is disappearing. See, and I need to even go further back. So the point is, when you have a micro four thirds camera, if you want to get this sort of a frame and you have to pull the focus back that far, there goes all the bokeh. So here's the micro four thirds. We can see the APS-C, Canon, other DSLRs, Super 35, and the full frame. So just to round it up, we might as well show this, just to see the Asahi. I mean, this looks great on micro four thirds here though, but there's, you know, the bokeh is wide open. If we go back with the focus, the bokeh is gonna disappear. So same principle applies. Micro four thirds, APS-C, Super 35, and full frame. So that's going to pretty much wrap it up. And I appreciate you coming to check this out. You can find us at kudocameracompany.com. That's where you can get all our gear. Tonight I am featuring the K&F Concept M42 to NEX adapter that helped me with this shoot in a sense, because both of these lenses are M42. They're both running on my Sony A7. So I thought I would show this. This is available at kudocamera.com. You can find us on eBay or on the Kudo Camera website, and we'll be looking forward to having you there. So yeah, so I think that's good. I think that kind of can wrap it up for the night. Let's take a look at the scorecard and just kind of tally it up. Looks like we are getting a total score for the Yashinon of a total score of 82 and a total score for the Super-Takumar of 85. So in terms of where this comparison ends, I would say they're both excellent lenses. They both leave some headroom, meaning that you can still go up from here. So they got an 85 and an 82. Last night I was testing the Canon SC 50mm f1.8, and I believe that was an 80, and the Nikkor HC 50mm f2, and I believe that was a 79. So we're stepping in the right direction here, but we're at 85. I'd love to see a lens that's going to crack 90. And if you have a lens that you think could crack 90, you want me to test it, I'll put it head to head against anything. I have most vintage lenses, so I can't compare it to these modern day lenses. I'm not really into that, but if you have anything you'd like to see go head to head, I'd love to see a lens you think could get a 90, or above. I know a few that I'm working my way towards, but I'm trying to get the process down, trying to keep the timing down. We've probably gone over time tonight, but we'll use that as kind of a jump off point. We'll keep this going. So I look forward to seeing you on future live streams, and please be sure to subscribe because we do want to reach 1,000 subscribers. We're at 200 now, so we're just kind of on that journey. So please help us along the way. Give us a like, and be sure to follow us on Facebook and Instagram. All right, well, have a great night. Hope you enjoyed these lenses, and we'll talk to you soon. All right, take care.